Are you thinking of building or remodeling? I'm Brian Smith with Vision Design and Build.
And I'm Tony Tileman with Supreme Lending. You're listening to the At Home Real Estate Show.
And welcome back. Welcome to the At Home Real Estate Show. We are in our final segment today. It's been a great show so far, hasn't it, Tony?
I'll tell you what, I'm just tickled. I've got a possible $33,000 savings doing solar. Mm-hmm. Charlie just told me about another 20% we can save on our taxes and explained the cost segregation, why it makes sense on the recapture rate, how they can reallocate it so that you cut your tax benefit in half.
And why it's better to do it now, even if you're going to sell that property.
That's exactly right. So, folks, go to the At Home Real Estate Show to figure this out. And then I'm excited. We've got the Jody Trevino with Phyllis Browning in the house. And I'm excited, Jody. I'm impressed with what you do. You are selling a bunch of real estate right now. And so I'm excited that you're on the show. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's a special show. I've been on the show twice. First time was only with Brian. Then I was on the phone, and first time with Tony, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we got you. We
got to have everybody together
in 2020. That's right. So tell us about what you're doing in real estate. What has made you such a splash so fast?
I think a lot of it has to do with learning from others, finding a good mentor. But for me, is really diving deep and focusing on the people that like me, love me, and would do business with me, because ultimately those are the people we want to take care of. And that's what's carried my business to this point. So really, I'm a product of the people that I serve.
And social media. I mean,
yeah, social media has been huge.
Honestly, I mean, you're doing a fantastic job on social media. Yeah. Really be able to illustrate and bring out these homes where people see it and really feel it and go, you know what, he's really just you just get in touch, I think, with a lot of these homes and with your following. Right.
Yeah, and that allows me to engage with a lot of different people. I get mixed feedback on my social media, but I like what I do, and a lot of my clients enjoy it. So I like to grab attention.
So the mixed attention. Talk to us about that, because for me, it's important. For me, the attitude. Sometimes social media can bring you down.
Yeah.
There's haters out there, and there's people who want you to not succeed. However, you do succeed, and you stay above the fray. How do you deal with that when you get mixed attention?
One thing I had to learn early on is when you're on social media and you're broadcasting to such a wide audience, not everybody knows your heart. And so things can come across really wrong. Like my intent with a certain video was to really get it out and get people to watch this property. It's $1 million property that I was trying to sell. So I had a buddy in the car business. I went and got a Maserati, and I drove it up, and I stood on the lot, barefoot, digging my feet under. And to some people, it was like, well, who's this kid? Why does he have a Maserati? That's not his Maserati. Who does he think he is? And so it can be taken wrong. But my intent was, if people see a Maserati, they're going to watch the video. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, it brought a lot of attention to the listing.
Yeah, and it's funny because there are people, that goes back to what I said, there's people who try and bring you down, but you've got to be strong enough and resolved to be able to continue doing what you're not, and really not care. Yeah. Not feed that. Sophie talks about negative energy, right? Mm-hmm. The low frequency. We want to have high frequency people. You're a high frequency guy.
I do my very best.
Man, you got a great attitude. I just love it. And from real estate, there's a lot of people that are not successful. They're not doing what the numbers that they want. They're not making the living that they want. And they look at somebody, you're youthful, right? Right. But you're making it happen, but it's work.
Right.
So talk to us about a normal, what's your normal day? What's your routine?
A normal day for me, as I've set my intention, is I wake up in the morning, I have some quiet time with God, and just kind of review my goals for the day. I have a gratitude journal, and I just, I write what I'm thankful for, what I want to accomplish by the end of the day, and then when I get home, I review that and see what I actually did. But a morning for me looks like reaching out to, some people that I know, some people I don't know, and then just kind of circling back on clients that I need to reconnect with. And then, the evenings is when I'm actually meeting, putting boots on the ground with clients.
So tell me, what are you seeing in the San Antonio market starting out in 2020?
The market is super strong right now. I know year over year at our brokerage, at least, we had an increase in sales. And it just depends on what part of the market you're talking about. San Antonio as a whole, I believe we have a shortage of inventory.
We do.
Yeah. And
it's under 4 months.
Yeah. I think it's 3.6 months right now.
Yeah, it was 3.8 for a while, so it's actually even gotten even
lower.
tighter now.
Yeah.
And the economic forecasts that have just come out, Sabor had theirs, and we just listened to Dotzer do one as well, Mark Dotzer. He was the chief economist out at Texas A&M. Now he's a private economist. That's the one stat. Supply. If supply is under 4 months, we have in some areas double-digit appreciation.
Right.
And the front page of the business section today, Dallas Fed sees continued Texas growth. Man, things look good.
Yeah, and you know, it's different though, because if we look at the luxury market, like you know, where we do a lot of business in 78209, you have an 8.6 months of inventory. So it depends on what price point you're talking about. To me, that's good for a seller in an affordable housing price point, but also that's a shortage of affordable housing. So it's important people have a strong realtor on their side to, you know, get them in the door.
And you've got a success story. You had a client who was in a multiple bid situation, and they're you know, without again sharing trade secrets, you've got some negotiation experience though, where they're accepting your offers and you're making real estate happen.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of that is, it's really simple. I mean, it's having a phone call. A lot of agents won't call the other side to just have that phone call and, you know, put their client's best foot forward and get them in the door. And that's really what it is. I mean, it's success is simple. It's not easy, but it's just a phone call.
Yeah, but it's taking that initiative. It's taking that step and putting yourself at sometimes in, you know, not a comfort situation, but it's putting that first step forward.
Yeah, and one thing, you know, like people always wonder, well, realtors compete with each other, and how are you going to be better than this guy? And it's not that. And what I tell people is, I don't compete with other realtors. I cooperate with them. You know, so it's not only having good relationships with the clients, but other agents so they want to work with you and they want to work with your client.
So you've got some lofty goals for 2020. For realtors out there who are listening and trying to figure it out, what are some of the basic steps that you've taken that you would convey to them that, hey, this is how you can do it too?
Yeah. Big one, if you're a new agent, I think open houses are incredible. You have to set your intent to, you know, what your goal is when you're there. But the biggest thing is showing up. Most people don't show up and they don't follow up. And so it's just when you meet that new person, call them, get to know them. Don't just worry about getting their information, and nurture those people and reach out to the people that, like I said at the beginning, like you, love you, they want to work with you. That's going to be the most rewarding.
Yeah, because it's amazing how, you know, when you do touch somebody and when you're working with somebody, it may not be that time, but it will be a time later.
Right.
And we've had people, you know, where we've met and it may be 3 or 4 years later that all of a sudden they're ready to do something. Yeah. But it was because you nurtured and talked and cared about them and went over some different things that they remembered you and were when they're ready to come back.
Yeah, prime example, I had a phone call last week with a couple I've been talking to for 2 years. And I called them and I said, hey, we've been talking over the last 2 years. You know, you and your husband were thinking about making a move. I know you wanted to downsize. And now they're ready to meet. So we're going to meet next week.
Yeah.
And there
Perfect
you go.
Example. I mean, yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah.
But you have to be in it. You know, you have to be willing to stick with those people for the long term.
Jody, I'd say as a compliment, you have an old soul. You're very mature.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And so I'm intrigued though. And again, I've got young kids who are successful as well. There's a lot of young professionals out there, young people, in their young 20s who don't get it yet. What really drove you to be the person you are today? Every time I see you, you look sharp.
Appreciate it.
You speak very well. You're confident in what you do. You've got a great attitude.
Right.
Talk to us about some of that mentorship that you said, hey, I've experienced some of this. What are some of the things that have gotten you where you are today specifically?
Okay. A lot of it was circumstance, but I think a big part of it is just how I was raised. I was raised by my grandparents, which was an older generation. So just a lot of their wisdom and insight, but also a lot of people I've worked with. And, you know, some people that, you know, we may not have a relationship today, but they taught me some really cool things that made a difference. Great friend of mine, Craig Browning, has been a great mentor to me. And I think it's just focusing on who I'm working on becoming. And, you know, if I surround myself with those people, that's who I'm becoming. And that's really it. But I don't know the secret, but I'm figuring it out, and it's working for me.
But I think you hit it on the nail as far as who you surrounded yourself with.
Yeah.
So you surround yourself with good mentors, people who do those daily diligence type of stuff, where you're on a daily basis doing it and working and doing those things hard.
Right.
If you see that seems normal to you.
Right.
So therefore you emulate that and you do that.
And it naturally holds you to a high level of accountability.
Yeah.
So if there was a lesson that you could have learned right off the bat in real estate, what would that lesson have been? What do you wish? Oh, I wish I didn't have to wait, a couple years to learn this. What would that be?
To like a young agent, I think it would be know who you are, for number one, know why you want to succeed, and then stay true to that, and don't get lost in the weeds.
And so how do you figure out who you are? Tell me about that. That's a process. That's not just okay, here I am, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I think a big part of it is knowing why you're doing what you're doing. Like for me, my big why is much bigger than me. It's about my legacy and leaving a family name. And, I think so far in the future, like I already think of how am I going to provide for my children that I'm going to have one day. So I think when you sit down and just look at yourself at the human level, what's your big why? What drives you? I think that'll keep you grounded and lead you to discover who you are. I don't think I fully realized who I am yet, but I know I'm learning, more and more about myself every day.
Man, I love this kid.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I love it. So let's talk about sellers. What do sellers need to know right now to compete and deal well in this market?
Sellers need to know that if their agent does not have a TikTok, they need to fire them. No, I'm kidding. Sellers just need
kidding, but not really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kidding, not kidding.
Yeah. No, I mean, sellers just make sure you have an agent that's willing to be honest with you and tell you what needs to be done. Because although, because there's a shortage right now, although, buyers are still choosing the perfect house. They still want that model home experience. And I think a big part for sellers is just have an agent that's willing to stage the property for you, make it look really well, and price it correctly.
And if they don't have that, okay, not all houses have that model home appeal. What about having them set up for here's how it could be remodeled? I mean, that's a big part of Brian's business, is to be able to show them what that kitchen could look like.
Right.
Is that something that you work with as well in terms of kind of modeling?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a listing a few months ago that hadn't sold. It had 2 realtors hadn't sold, and I went in there and we did some painting and stuff. But what I told the clients as they were coming through, the buyers agents with their clients, is we had a plan drawn out by an architect of how you could add more bedrooms to the home, and it sold in like 2 days.
Yeah,
because there was a vision.
You need a vision. There you
Vision. How about
the
design and build? How about that?
Yeah.
Folks, you're listening to the At Home Real Estate Show with the Jody Trevino of Phyllis Browning Real Estate. You can find him online at phyllisbrowning.com.
That's great.
JodyTrevino.com.
JodyTrevino.com.
How about that? We'll make
There
it
we go.
similar.
And we'll be on the
JodyTrevino.com.
At Home Real Estate website.
At homerealestateshow.com. That's atrealestatehome.com. Thanks for joining us on Saturday.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, and appreciate you listeners out there joining us. Man, we have figured out some ways. Our goal on this show, make money, save money, live well. Come join us at the athomerealestateshow.com, and we'll see you next Saturday.
You're listening here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Woo.